Hello, it's Reviews Day Tuesday, and today it's time for Discworld Discourses, my show in which I review every book in the Discworld series. Today it is Equal Rites, Book 3, which was published in 1987. The book starts with a wizard passing on his staff before he dies to the 8th son of an 8th son. The only problem is that 8th son is a daughter, Escarina Smith, who has a lot to contend with because everyone knows that only men can be wizards and only women can be witches. That's the law. I really like the premise of this book. It's very simple and easy to understand, and this book is very important as a part of the Discworld series for many reasons. We get to see more about wizard life in Unseen University, and we also get to learn about witches and the role they play on the Discworld and the differences between wizards and witches and sorcerers, which is very important across the whole series. I also like that we get to visit and learn about somewhere else in the world. We're in the Ramtops for the majority of the book. There is a lot that is interesting and exciting in this book as a fan of the Discworld series. However, I would say that I preferred this book the first time I read it to this time around. I found myself getting more impatient or frustrated when I was reading it this time, where I knew what was going to happen and where the book was going. I think because it takes a while to get to the bits that I remember, I was kind of waiting for them to come. You know, when I was first reading it, I was more interested in hearing about witches and, you know, other places in the Discworld that I hadn't been to before, but because I already sort of know about that stuff now, it wasn't quite so impactful or distracting to me, I guess. So although I like this book and I would recommend reading it, not least because it is so important to the Discworld series as a whole, although it's perhaps more accurate to say that it introduces things which become important to the Discworld as a whole. I just didn't enjoy reading it as much as I did the first time round. I'd be very interested to know if this is the case for other people rereading this book. Or maybe you didn't like it that much the first time round. Or maybe you prefer it now you've reread it and you're like, Mouse, what are you talking about? All perfectly valid options. I'm also interested to see if this is the case for me with any other books over the course of this reread. I think some of the things that I remember most enjoying about my first read was, you know, Granny Weatherwax and all of these new things and places. And also, you know, not a Rincewind book. I'm not against Rincewind, but it was nice to be in a different place with different people. I found it more enjoyable when these things were newer to me, I guess. Let's talk about characters, one of my favourite things. One of my favourite characters in the series, I mean top 10, Granny Weatherwax makes her first appearance in this book. I also overall like Esk as a character. I find her very interesting. I like how she sees the world. I like the way she answers questions. I like our main character being a very young girl. I did find her reluctance to follow instruction an issue at times. She's very young and she thinks she knows everything and that she knows best, which is very interesting from a character perspective, but I did find it sometimes a bit grating from a story perspective, like when she would get purposefully lost and stuff and she'd be like, everything is fine, everything will be fine, Granny will find me. I got a little stressed, but as a character I find her a lot of fun. So let's have some trivia about this book as we are doing every episode of Discworld Discourses. As I said before, this book sees the first appearance of Granny Weatherwax, which I think is the best thing, the most interesting thing about this book, in my opinion. It also marks the first appearance of Escarina, although, spoiler alert, she will not reappear for another 35 books. You will have to go all the way to I Shall Wear Midnight if you want to see her again. The book was serialised as a 10-part radio broadcast on BBC Radio 4's Women's Hour in 1987, and also illustrator Josh Kirby painted himself on the back of the book as a wizard. So, if you like this book, Equal Rites, what would I recommend that you read next? This is the first in the Witches series. We will be returning to Granny Weatherwax and some friends soon, so I'd probably suggest going on to Weird Sisters, which is the next Witches book, and that's book 6 in the series, so not that far away. If you didn't get on too well with this book, then I'd probably recommend just sticking with publication order, because the next book, book 4, is Mort. To me, that is one of the best of the early books, and it's also a good place to start the series generally, as we talked about in my last video. So that's my review of Equal Rites by Terry Pratchett. Important to the series, but less enjoyable to read than I remember. I will give Equal Rites 3.7 out of 5. So, as my Discworld Discourses videos are continuing on the 1st and 3rd of every month, my next review of Mort will be on the 5th of March, 2 weeks from now, so if you're reading along, we have a couple of weeks. I'm really excited to reread this one, especially after all of the comments on my videos about it. And thank you so much for commenting. I have really enjoyed talking about Discworld with you, and please do let me know if you have any suggestions for things that I could include in these videos, or your favourite Discworld books, or the ones you recommend as good places to start. And I would of course really love to know your thoughts about Equal Rites. Let's move across to the end screen. If you'd like to see my latest video or some more Discworld Discourses, then you can do so below me here. And you can also subscribe to my channel or visit my website if you should wish to beside me here. And as always, the full list of Discworld books and when I'm planning on reviewing them on this channel is linked in the description below. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you soon.